probably going to be a very close-knit match. Dare I call it, it will be a barn burner of a match as well. And throughout my experience casting for ESA, I've grown to know these teams relatively well. I wouldn't, have myself certified as an ESA expert, but what I can actually say with confidence is that these two teams, they kind of remind me of the current G2 roster, in the sense that they don't really care on which court they'll be playing. As soon as the ball is in that particular court, they will just run with it. They are perfectly capable of fragging out. They've got their strats on deck. And the most important thing about these two teams through and through is that they are extraordinarily confident in their own gameplay, which is why I am super excited to get into this matchup when the time is right.
I'm itching to say something in particular about this poll, which was that last match, as you brought up, 7-0 in the favour of Brown Esports, and the community had it swung right the other way. It was 93% in favour of Turtle. So maybe they're good at predicting the sort of the type of match we're going to get. Maybe that it's going to be a 7-0, and maybe we'll get a very, very close match here. That's definitely what history would tell us. Maybe also choosing the right side might not be in their toolkit. Who knows? We'll see whether the Last Resort can take it. They do have the numbers behind them, but we're going to have a look at the map bans and see where exactly it is we are going to today. So as you can see, this lovely simulation played out here. The bans went through earlier. Coastline was first ban for the Last Resort, followed up by Theme Park. Then, of course, we have the following 4 bans from either side. Villa and Cafe going off the board there. Then we were left with Oregon, Consulate, and Clubhouse. Oregon was the final ban for Last Resort. Consulate and Clubhouse the choice, effectively, for the win, and they go with Clubhouse there. Last Resort opting to defend first, as you usually would on Club. So what do you make of this, then?
Well, it's going to be relatively messy, as is also the past records of these two teams and their overall experience with Clubhouse throughout the ESA regular season. While they have dazzled with Clubhouse time and time again, it just hasn't necessarily been the most mainstay map for either of these two rosters. I would argue that the mainstay map would actually be Oregon for them, as they have had relatively decent score lines and have played Oregon far more frequently than Clubhouse. If I'm just going through my notes quickly, right over here, if I'm going to take a look at For the Win, the last time that they went against the Suomi Slayers throughout the ESA regular season, they unfortunately suffered a 3-7 loss on Clubhouse, but they are perfectly capable of swinging things right on back. And the exact same thing can be said for, well, the Last Resort. I mean, the majority of the victories that they've managed to claim for themselves were on Oregon, not necessarily on Clubhouse. So it's as far as the past records are concerned with these two squads, like I said, it's all over the place. At this certain point, it's all up in the air, and I wouldn't be able to make a proper or educated guess as to who could rise victorious on Clubhouse. It's just not necessarily a map that they have played terribly all that often, but still, it is going to prove to be a very exciting match nevertheless.
Yeah, and if we're looking at ESA as a kind of source of intel for these sides, and it's very comparable in terms of the level of competition that we see across those boards, you've got TLR having that edge of being consistently positive on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But For the Win having the edge of the last time these two coming up against each other as a pair of teams in competition with each other, they take the 2-0, and that wasn't including a Clubhouse match. That was Oregon and Cafe.
Yeah.
So it depends what you weigh more heavily on, whether it's to do with the players stacking up against each other, or whether it's to do with that particular map choice. And to be honest, given the sort of recent roster changes, I'm inclined to say that TLR's record on Clubhouse is going to be the more favorable thing to lean on here, and I think perhaps the community is right to give them that slight edge in that vote.
Yeah, most likely. I 100% agree with that. And obviously, as we stated, the last time that these two teams have played against each other was in round 1 of the championship division from ESA, which was far too many weeks ago to count on all of my fingers and toes combined. So yes, lots of changes have been made. A lot of learning and all of that kind of everything has just sort of melted and bored into their heads. Experiences, new different styles of learning from their own gameplay and from their opponents. And so these two teams that we are going to see right now, TLR and For the Winner, are going to be completely different than the ones that we had actually been accustomed to seeing a couple of months ago during round number 1 of the ESA division. And if you are also curious about ESA, the playoffs for that particular scene is going to be actually starting off next week, and I'm fairly confident to say that there is a really, really high chance that they will be meeting each other yet again soon after they're done here with ACS tonight.
Yeah, they might consider this a bit of a dry run for that, perhaps. But they do, of course, want to get things off to a good start, at least here in ACS, because it's all to play for, really. We've gone to this best of ones format, so you only get the one chance against the opposition before potentially making it through to face them in the championship playoffs. And it's all about gathering those points in the standings. Best of ones can be a cruel mistress at times, and if you're not consistent, then you can stand to lose out quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely so. And, obviously for both of these two teams being accustomed to best of 3 games, it's a completely different ball game over here. Best of ones just mean that right off the bat, you have got to bring yourself your A game. Otherwise, you can get dismantled extraordinarily quickly. And so it is going to be quite a drastic change of pace, since they are, like I said, much more accustomed to best of 3 scenarios and best of 3 matches in general. But nevertheless, it's still going to prove to be a very exciting game. And also on the subject of Clubhouse, because as we stated, that is going to be where we are going to be visiting for today's matchup. Can you remind me quickly who exactly is going to be starting off on the defensive side? I think it was actually TLR that's starting on the defense.
It is TLR, yes.
Yes.
So I think it's funny you should bring up Clubhouse, because I feel like having just witnessed Coastline, it's also going to be a bit of an adjustment for us as spectators and casters, etc., to adjust to the completely different nature of this map as opposed to Coastline, and expect to see far more sort of calculated takes and setups from both sides. Although that being said, we were treated to a very clinical and considered approach to Coastline by Brown Esports in that last game, so perhaps not too different. But at the moment, we're just waiting for the players in the lobby to get ready up. So just for the moment, we're going to have a quick look at those standings and see exactly how things are panning out. Bear in mind, we've had 4 matches played out of the 6 so far for this Playday. As you can see, Anibi, Brown, Nice Gaming, and Homeless are the teams that have so far taken home those points. Anibi being the benefactor of a forfeit win after Prey failed to hand in their moss sufficiently. So unfortunate for Prey, considering they had won that map, but they find themselves at the bottom right now. Joined there by Turtle Esport, who were just the recipients of a 7-0 that we just witnessed. PTTK and Aves, the last 2 down there. And then those 4 teams scrapping out in the middle, yet to play a game. But here is one of those games. TLR versus FTW. That is the last resort, and For the Win. Who's going to take this one? I have absolutely no clue as we go into this ban phase.
I am confident to agree with you on that one. I have no idea on God's green earth who is going to actually win this matchup, but last time around with Turtle Esports and Turtle versus Brown Esports, we were treated to some very interesting operator bans, and I'm hoping that we could get a little shred of that kind of reminiscent operator bans. We also have an interesting matchup right off the bat for us. We're going to have Maverick and Montaigne be just wiped clean off the face of the earth. Maverick will not see the light of day, and not having a Montaigne available seems like it's going to be a target ban. Obviously, yes, he is a very strong operator when it comes to claiming control of Garage, but it's been a fair amount of time since we've seen a Bandit ban take place on Clubhouse.
Yeah, that is unusual. Usually if you go for one of those denial ops, it's going to be the Kaid. But no, Bandit being removed. And I was just about to talk about how I'm a fan of seeing the Maverick come off the board for Clubhouse games. I feel like when he's available, it kind of it lowers the difficulty, I suppose, for the attackers. It just means that there's a lot more kind of ease, and it bypasses that whole kind of juggling of utility that you see on both sides. But with the Bandit gone, that's also going to be kind of removed as well from the defensive side. So that takes away a lot of the tools that they have for denying those walls. And instead, it's going to be up to those Kaid players, maybe even mutes or some interesting trickery involving smoke or no, not smoke, clash or deployable shields to deny
Yeah.
sort of stuns and all this sort of interactions that we get to see quite frequently. That being said, Thatcher also being making his way through the ban phase, and he is going to be chosen on this
Yep.
first attacking round, so he's going to make things a lot easier. But main thing to note right here, we're starting off with a gym defense.
I personally think that this is entirely the right call for the last resort. You know, we have always argued, and to a certain degree, you can prove that CCTV and Cache is the most defender-sided bomb site on the entire map. It just, it's just a fact. But because Thatcher is in play, I would argue that Basement then becomes the most defender-sided map, because as soon as you've got Thatcher on the board, paired together with Thermite, that classic PBJ combination of Rainbow Six Siege since launch, Cache and CCTV becomes infinitely more difficult to actually hold on to with an iron grasp. That outer wall from CCTV just can get breached far more easily than you would initially expect if there actually wasn't a Thatcher. If there was clear absence of a Thatcher, then they could have gone to CCTV and Cache. But seeing as he is in the playing field, as well as the other two hard breachers that are available, I feel that Last Resort are right to make this call and move on to Gym and Bedroom as their first defensive site.
You just saw the timing on that Electro Claw, a little bit short, not really up to the match with the Thermite exothermic charges. But Jegs, doesn't matter, he's going to find quick, and that's one of your key fraggers on for the win, taken care of very early on, neutralized, and no Ash moving forward to help you with those breaches, those soft breaching. Spoit as well, landing one of his trademark shots there onto Demantas, and wow, this is falling apart very, very quickly for the win.
Yeah, Domintus had literally no idea what hit him in that regard. For the win, roughly 70 seconds have already just been expended, and they find themselves in a 5v3 situation. Now, they still have tons of hard breach utility on the table, one of which will be placed on that jacuzzi wall to grant themselves an extra line of sight, as well as an extra avenue towards the bomb site is going to help them. But the question is it going to work wonders for them? 90 seconds left on the timer, and they have minimal real estate to work with. TLR still have a firm grasp, not only of the bomb sites themselves, but also of the far eastern sides of the map, that Cache and CCTV portion specifically. And for the win, it looks like they're going to be mounting their attack primarily from Jacuzzi, as those X-Scar spells that were placed on the bathroom wall have been denied thanks to an impact.
Yeah, and two players stacked up inside a gym. That's going to be a nasty surprise for anyone looking to cross. Thing takes a bit of damage, and there we have that gym player springing into action, and a pinch from the top of the stairs as well. Benjamaster with the final kill, and an absolutely dominating display right there from the defensive side of TLR.
That's really not what you expect to see. I'm not exactly sure if FTW haven't yet woken up, or the Last Resort literally feel at home when it comes to playing Clubhouse, and they know it practically like the back of their hand. You saw that they weren't shying away from taking these unfavorable gunfights, and I really think that is ultimately what caught FTW off guard, that they weren't expecting the Last Resort to get so overly ambitious, to get so overly aggressive, because let's be fair, how often do you expect this kind of hyper-aggressive playstyle from the defense?
Well, maybe they should be expecting it with Spoit on their side, for instance. That's one of the warning flags that you should take. But it was actually Jegs to get the opening frag aggressively on the Valk. We didn't really catch it, but it was definitely what set the ball rolling for TLR that round. And yeah, I think, honestly, looking at the way that For the Win lined up against the defense there, they took... I mean, you don't really want to call this a negative point, really, because it's expected on Clubhouse, but it's all about the breaching with them. They have no execute utility whatsoever, and the problem with that lies in that if you find yourself down a few members, then you really have no edge going into the fights. If you're taking, a 4v5, a 3v5 situation, and all you've got is hard breachers and a Thatcher, or in that situation, I believe it was... hard breaches and it might have been a hard breach in the Thatcher. I can't remember. Who was the IQ instead? It wasn't an IQ. It was a.
There was a Zofia in play.
There
was a sledge.
No, there wasn't.
There was a sledge. Yeah,
it was a sledge. That's it. Yeah. So that virtually no execute utility, and
yeah.
It just means that you're very, very stuck for options going into a disadvantageous situation like that.
Yeah. But I've got to say that my day just got a whole lot brighter because, ladies and gentlemen, TLR, they're bringing out the SSG roam strategy on Clubhouse. Every single time that I see a team utilize this strategy, it just literally puts the largest smile on my face, ear to ear, and is going to be one heck of a round. And you know that if TLR, or you can assume that if TLR have the balls to bring out the strategy, then you know for a fact that they have it on lock.
It looks as though For the Win are taking the particular approach that we've seen a lot of teams do as of late, which is rather than trying to pressure those upstairs Romans and play into the strategy that the defenders want you to, focusing purely on the kitchen and construction takes to slide your way into site while it's empty, get those entry frags very quickly, and establish site control, flipping the roles of attack and defense on their heads. But speed is of the essence when you're going for this, and it's going to be important. Flexi finding that first kill onto Just Savage, and that's your one in the middle, splitting the two up and down. But Jegs is finding Thing in response, and the hard breach dealt with. I do believe he managed to get that exothermic charge out, so it shouldn't be too bad. But what is bad is the double kill coming out there from the side of TLR, shutting this attack down. Those two roamers collapsing perfectly onto the middle there.
Oh my goodness, the last resort just quite literally stopping For the Win before they even set anything in motion, and Spoit with the final frag onto Domintus. They just literally wiped the floor clear with FTW in that particular round. Holy moly. And, you know, this is why this strategy has literally seen victory after victory after victory. It is unbeatable. And clearly, the last resort, they know exactly where to focus their attention. They always allow the attackers to make the first move, and then they react accordingly. You guys saw that FTW, they were trying to do some vertical work within Kitchen. And what did that mean? That meant that the likes of, I believe it was Just Savage or it might have actually been Spoit. Yeah, it was Spoit on the Mozzie, who was playing upstairs inside of Office, could have used that verticality to just shut down any exothermic charge or X-Cow spells that were placed on the hatch, as well as directly contest from above. TLR were so quick to respond, they literally know this strategy like the back of their hand, in FTW. They got shut down even before the round had started.
Let's see this wonderful shot here from Spoit. This was absolutely not allowed. Just
it's illegal.
To the tracers there.
It's illegal.
And you can see he even has the incredible ability to reverse time and take the shot a second go. And, you know, one kill isn't good enough for him. He wants to kill him twice. So you got to love that. I mean, hats off to our wonderful producer letting us see that twice in a row. I love that, man. That's sweet.
That's definitely going to make it into the Pro Digest for this week. Seriously, hats off to him. But
people were asking, like, when was Spoit playing? I mean, he's playing. Look at that, 5-0.
Is this going to be the new sort of trend? When does Bolo play? But now it's when does Spoit play?
I'm pretty sure it's already a thing.
Come on, chat. Make it happen. When does Spoit play? But either way, he is clearly showing up right now. In TLR, they're going to be moving on to CCTV and Cash in the hopes of getting a flawless site rotation on Clubhouse, which, while it is doable with the operator bans that are in play, I would argue that it is something to write home about if you manage to pull it off.
So here is where we're really going to see the effect of that bandit ban, because of course, as we saw in the first round, Thermite exothermic charges are just faster than the way that Electroclaw deploys, and if you juggle it with these EMPs, then there's no way that you can get a Electroclaw off perfectly. And it looks like a quick rush strat. Here we go for the winner, flooding into sight, but Just Savage and Spoit claim one apiece, and it's an absolute massacre. This was not the call from the attack. They have fallen apart. A flawless round for TLR. They complete that circuit of 3 defensive rounds on the trot, and oh my goodness, that was just a bloodbath in servers.
I don't even have the words to describe what has just happened right there. FTW tried to jump the gun and they paid a very costly price for it. Holy moly. Oh man, and mind you, this is the second flawless round that they've taken on the defense after playing a total of 3 rounds. What the heck is happening? Like, Jesus! The last resort, they're not even bringing their A game. They are literally just tossing out the report cards, or I should actually say forging the report cards and just writing an A++. Holy moly.
That was just bizarre, really, from For the Win. I can only assume that that was a very late call to go for that rush, because honestly, you stick someone on the highway window to jump in during that rush, and you've actually got a good rush on your hands. You know, that was shut down because of the cross angles, basically.
Yeah.
TLR, or For the Win, rather, when they were rushing into sight, they just weren't aware of them. And, you know, they're fairly standard angles to be holding. One from catwalk, one from top of red. And then they were shut down eventually as well by the player peeking through from the side door. And if you put someone in a, you know, if you just do the same thing on the attack and time that rush from multiple angles, then maybe you find yourself in a better position than if you just flood in through the breach, you know?
I honestly would probably recommend that if For the Win want to go for that kind of pocket strategy again, it would probably be in their best interest to take some kind of smoke operator, either be it a Capitao, who can just toss out those bolts relatively quickly, what have you. But if I glanced at the scoreboard correctly, For the Win have only managed to net themselves a single kill against the last resort this entire match.
I think you're probably right on that. That was the second round, wasn't it? Because they ended up 4 versus 1, and Benjamin with a wonderful tap to the barricade and a tap to Quick's head, or a spray to Quick's head, really. But either way, he's dead, and he's dead quick.
Not the puns that we usually want to hear, but you know what? I'll accept it. It's completely
You're dealing
fine.
with me, you're gonna get the puns.
I'm dealing with Jerry the Dad. Jerry the Dad Man. But either way, let's have it. Oh no, Benjamaster, that's just disrespectful. Removing Thing, practically deleting him from the face of the earth is going to solidify this round, or the last resort even further. Barely 70 seconds have already passed by, and the last resort are already sitting in a 5v3 situation. They're not even granting FTW the luxury to step foot within the building itself. It's just insane at this point.
They really aren't, and I think at this point TLR can be sitting pretty, knowing that For the Win are not adapting. They are continually not bringing these. Oh, that was a nice shot. Flexing his muscles there onto Just Savage. But beyond that nice shot, there hasn't been much going for the Win. They've not brought the execute utility they need to actually capitalize on the stellar work they're doing breaching. It has to be said that they're doing their checklist perfectly. Demantus finding Benjamaster there and taking down the player that opened up the scoring in this round, leaving us in a 3 versus 3, and that's 2 kills this round, more than For the Win have achieved in any of the 3 rounds prior combined. So maybe they got something going for them this round.
I genuinely think they do, but at the end of the day, there's 55 or 50 seconds left, I should say, and at a certain point, they're going to need to start picking up the pace, but that is not going to aid them whatsoever. Spoy! Oh my god, crushing the hopes and dreams of FTW single-handedly. And now it's all down to Domintus, who has literally been brought to a very abrupt halt on the main staircase thanks to those toxic babes, and he's not going to see the light of day. Spoy closes off round number 4 for the last resort with a massive triple kill, to say the least.
That was great. Demantus the Irishman running out of luck there, unfortunately for him. So he just gets swept up by one of the most talented players we've seen in this game for a while. But Flexi, as I said, flexing his muscles, finding that opening kill was pretty nice, but Spoit responding with a double headshot of his own and then just taking out the trash at the very end. Oh, look at that. I mean, the thing is, this is Spoit. We're so used to it, right?
Yeah, we are.
He will land those shots day in, day out. So it's almost not worth overreacting to anymore. But the main thing is he's sitting on, what, 9-0 or something at this point? 8-0 at least?
If we could see the scoreboard, then we can quickly confirm that. That would be very, very awesome.
That would be lovely. Perhaps we'll get to see it during the round if we do. Oh, there we go, 9-0. That's what we
Oof.
want to see
Yeah.
from this player. I know it's what a lot of people have come here to see, and he's delivering. He's providing us with
Mm-hmm.
this showing that we want to see. But I tell you what else we want to see. We want to see TLR give them a run for their money right now. We want to see For the Win give them a run for their money. TLR
Mm-hmm.
are doing the absolute job right here. But the attackers need to gain something here. 4 rounds lost on a defensive split of Clubhouse. That's not
Mm-hmm.
the end of the world. If they
No,
pick up the
it
next
isn't.
2,
Mm.
then they can go forward and say,
Yeah.
yep, we've got this. We've still got this.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to get something. A 5-1 split is definitely not a death sentence
It's
either,
shaky.
but it is shaky. And
Yeah.
right now they haven't looked like they're gonna bring anything. Look at that right now. Flexi and Damatas are the only players with kills on the side of For the Win. And
Yeah.
we're seeing another SSG roam strat come out. Are they going to be able to execute their plan of sweeping into the basement very quickly better this time? Or are they going to actually go for the roam clear?
I have no earthly idea because, trust me, last time around, for the W, they had the right idea in their heads. But unfortunately, it wasn't just properly executed because that center roamer, the Vigil of Just Savage, was surprisingly enough the first casualty on the side of the Last Resort, which immediately proves that the first floor of the entire building is no longer that safe haven that you can actually, provide for your roamers to rotate back towards the bomb site. But last time around, the Last Resort were so very quick to react to what FTW was throwing their way, and they managed to get 3 kills back to back within the span of a couple of seconds. This time, FTW, they need to be far more coordinated and far more surgical when it comes to their overall take. And obviously, last time around, they tried to put all of their eggs in one basket and they paid the price for it. This time, it's a much more spread out approach. They are trying to cover as many bases as possible, but I would argue that that is exactly what TLR hope for their opponents to do.
So, For the Win are aware of that top floor presence, and Flexi's going to be finding the opening frag onto Jegs. That was a player who delivered the opening frag, I believe, onto Flexi at one point in the first round, and, oh no, it was Quick that died in the first round, but still, a good opening fragger gone, and they have control of this top floor as well. This is something they were missing last time. But there is still presence on the middle floor. You can see Spoit lurking in bar, just looking forward to doing Spoit things, and Magnus shutting down the entry of Quick on that Ash, who's trying to push in through dirt maybe a little bit prematurely. And he's going to have this on lock because he's got a very nice angle to shut it out. But he's being droned out by Thing, I believe, who is the Thermite, carrying that diffuser. I just don't know where the opening's going to be, but that might be it. Spoit falls. Flexi getting his second on the round and beginning to finally wake up in this matchup.
He is definitely stepping up to the plate when his team needs it the most. FTW, they're starting to look better each passing second. It's a 4v3 situation right now, and they've managed to isolate the remaining defenders towards the basement itself. So now, you've got yourself a fair amount of information, but as I say that, Benja and Magnus just throwing a wrench into the machine that is FTW, and suddenly the turns have tabled. TLR, they're in the driver's seat with 23 seconds left to go. And FTW, I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to pull off an execute. A trade comes out going the way of TLR, and now it's all down to Bruno with the diffuser in hand, but he has to face 2 remaining players, and he doesn't stand a chance. Just Savage was honestly just rude going for that drop shot. Not really living up to his name. He was just rude.
Yeah, and, getting that shift key well-oiled at the end there as well to make sure he knows, or the opponents know, that he's on point today. Look at that. Benjamin Master giving Spoit a run for his money as well. 7-2. He's doing pretty nicely. He had a good round there. He was the one shutting down the approach For the Win. And, I mean, the best they can hope for now is a 5-1 split, and that's not ideal.
Okay, hold the phone for a second, Jerry. Shift key? Do you have your shift key bound for going prone? Because I'm pretty sure the default is control.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. I haven't messed with the default, and I know that is a mistake. I have control as spammed as the spam button. You know,
there you are.
Shift W. Obviously, that's the way you go.
Yeah,
you've got to be able to sprint with the shift.
Yeah, obviously, and that is something.
Thanks for calling me out on that. That is almost a sin.
No worries. I got you. I got you. We take care of each other. That's what brothers do. Yeah, exactly. But nevertheless, Last Resort right now are well on their way to getting themselves a flawless half on Clubhouse defense, and we are also very well on our way to potentially seeing the second 7-0 of the night. And it's all down to FTW. Can they put an end to it? Can they potentially bring TLR to a grinding halt? Maybe, but I don't know if they have it in them, judging by the way that TLR are playing. It's specifically Spoit for that matter as well.
Yeah, it's really been the Spoit show for the most part so far. I mean, I like the long gaps between games, but I tell you what I like more is a good old 7-5. I want to see a slogfest between these two sides, and for the win, need to do something about that. Bring us some entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Okay, so Just Savage going for the early spawn peak there as the Kai's, knowing that obviously the 2 Electro Claws in his pocket aren't important. Of course, I'm joking. I mean, it would have been unlucky if he died that early on. He does spend this Electro Claw. That being said, for the win, have had no problem getting rid of it for the most part. Their breaching has been the one shining thing in this first half. And then from here, it just goes downhill. So hopefully they can bring us something, a different story for this round. And they've at least made the adaptation of not going for a rush in through that breach first time.
Yeah, that is, you know, I guess you could call it really, really good discipline, not trying to jump the gun and just walking into your own coffin at a certain point. But as far as I'm concerned, obviously the last time why they were dealt with so damn fast was because of the fact that TLR had these really, really well-established crossfires. This time around, it is the same case, but FTW are making the adaptation to push directly through construction this time around and go for a cash take. Thing gets the opening frag onto Magnus, meaning that the Wamai is going to be the opening casualty of this particular round before Spoit gets the refrag onto the Thermite, which means that I believe one exothermic charge has been rendered completely useless for the remainder of this round.
It's 10-1 over 5 rounds, Spoit. Absolutely monstrous so far. And frustratingly for the attackers, they've got that diffuser quite far away. Spoit with another onto Flexi, and that's one of your key fraggers for the day gone. A triple for Spoit. He's just destroying the attacking side. Benjamaster with the closeout, but a 4K for Spoit. Oh my word. We didn't get to see any of it. What a shame, but I mean, I said 10-1. He's now 13-1.
I'm just wagging my finger at Benjamaster because he robbed us of he robbed Spoit of an ace.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Goodness
6-0. Oh my 13-1. What is this?
This is nutty. I mean, I was saying at the very start that the 2 players we need to keep our eyes on, Spoit and Quick. I hate to call you out, Quick, but you're sitting on a donut right now, mate, and it's 6-0. You've got to do something about that. He's going to be moving on to Doc and hoping to replicate Spoit's performance from the last round. Maybe they can turn this round, just maybe. Just as a reminder as well, at ACS, we are playing with draws enabled. So at the moment, FTW, they're only playing for that point. And they have to get 6 rounds in a row to get it.
It is an extraordinarily steep hill to climb. We know that for the win, they are no slouch, but unfortunately, they just have not been turning up today like we are accustomed to seeing them in other leagues and in other corners of the community throughout Siege. Today might just not be their day. It clearly is the last resort, but
I mean, it's Spoit's. It's Spoit's day.
Spoit's day. I mean, he's definitely he's just gotten the crown and he's run away with it for today. And I don't even know what else to comment on this certain point, Jerry. I'm kind of at a loss for words.
It's strange. We were talking between maps about how that previous map, despite being a 7-0 on Coastline, you know, you look at that and you think, oh, it was probably just a frag fiesta. No, it wasn't. It was Brown Esports executing very cleanly as a team, sharing that load and making sure that they did everything correctly and being just ruthless on their attacks. Right now, we're seeing a completely different kind of one-sided affair, one where TLR are just fragging out their minds and winning every single gunfight. Not even winning every single gunfight, just taking every single gunfight. And being ruthless about it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. The vast majority of the time, they could be going against our better judgment for, challenging these gunfights, regardless of how favorable they are. But at the end of the day, that is where TLR strives the most. They have no. They ultimately, I would argue that they have no business winning some of these
Oh.
gunfights, but they seem to, especially like this one. Magnus shutting down Bruno, just catching a narrow, thin pixel of his head, removing it swiftly, clinging off his shoulders, and TLR getting themselves the opening frag again.
It's exemplary work from the Thermite there. That upside down rappel catching out the smoke of all operators who really need to survive until the late round. Flexi finding one, but being immediately traded out by Benjamaster. That's just Jaeger and the Thatcher off the board. So a couple of things each way there, but really advantage attackers overall. Quick sitting on top here as the Doc damages Spoit quite a lot. The frag grenade sails in, but because he's the Doc, he can res himself. Thing and Demantas taking one apiece as well and setting us up for a 2 versus 3, but down the Doc goes finally, falling victim to the second frag grenade of Jegs. It's a 2 versus 2. Spoit and Jegs want to shut this out in regulation.
This is really no surprise. If you've been following TLR for, well, basically since you could actually open your mouth and say your first couple of words, then you know that Jegs is literally the counterpart of BC. He is just so on point with those grenades, and it's going to really pay dividends for TLR as they've managed to bring this back down to an even playing field. Runout comes out from Thing, but sadly it won't bear any fruits. And as far as the health pools are concerned on both sides, relatively evened out, but a bit of an overly ambitious peak coming out from Domintus will cost him his life, and now Spoit has the luxury to get that diffuser down, but he's actually chosen not to stick it, and they're looking for the frags, and there it is.
That was a wall bang.
Yeah, that was a wall bang coming out from Spoit, just cranking up that game sense to 110. Holy moly.
Another 7-0 today, and ladies and gentlemen, we give you Spoit. Look at that. 14-1 across 7 rounds. I mean, he's definitely been God sent to TLR.
That's a perfect 2.0 average kills per round. I don't know about you, Jerry, but that is definitely something to pop some champagne over. That's just impressive.
Well, they might not want to be celebrating too early. Bear in mind, this is, of course, Playday 1. But shutting down for the win like that, making them look that bad? They're not a bad squad. This is a good side, FTW, and TLR just walked all over them.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when was it? Bayern Munich beating Barca 8-1. Just not too long ago. Like, this is the kind of unexpected score line that you never would have thought in a million years to have happened, but it has. The Last Resort has made such quick work for the win. Like, all of that kind of analysis that we had done, pulling our source information and source material from ESA, literally just been chucked out the window, and I'm sitting on the 5th story right here. That's a pretty long drop.
We are. I'm pretty sure, by the way, the Last Resort and For the Win would appreciate the comparison to Bayern Munich and Barcelona. They're going to be taking that away. But right now, the Last Resort, clearly the better side. And in no small part due to Spoit. I mean, it's often the case that you end the game and there's so many talking points, but that was just a Spoit show through and through. And I think we're probably going to be thrown to a break pretty shortly because I've run out of things to say about that. Hands down, that was just it. And
there is one thing that I would like to point out, and that I'm pulling it straight from Twitch chat. Somebody pointed out that this match for Last Resort was just a terrorist hunt.
I mean, for the win, are going to have to be
brutal, but Twitch chat is brutal. But at the end of the day, they are right.
For the win, are going to have to show us in the rest of the season what they are truly made of, and they're going to have to show us that they aren't just terrorists, basically. That they can formulate a plan, they can execute it, and they can take a win. Because going into this season, I was looking at them as one of those top 2 or 3 sides, maybe, to pull out against the big hitters here. And I think they're going to try and put that one behind them, maybe learn some lessons about Clubhouse in particular, because they haven't looked especially good there in the past, and maybe that did contribute to this a little bit. But yeah, the last resort had it all the way right there. We are going to throw to a fairly lengthy break yet again, because we've been delivered a 7-0, would you believe it? Second 7-0 of the day. But don't you worry, we'll be back in a while with UMX versus 4 Elements. Don't go away.
Whispers in my mind, I slow